Right guys, I'm back on with this Norton. What day? Monday. When I went here on Saturday, I had to wait a long while for a customer to come back to me on whether he wanted these to look like they are. And I basically explained to him that that's as good as... He gave me a brief that he wanted them kicking up as far as he could at the back and as short in as he could. So I basically explained that that's what I've done. That's as good as I can get them. So I waited around for 2 hours for him to say, yeah, go ahead, do them. So I'm at that point now. I've just put them all back on, double checked them, got them all lined up. I think I'm going to do one quick last double check, and then I'm going to get welder out, start tacking everything in place, and then I can whip it all off, braze it all round, put it all back on again, and it's done. Trickiest part was doing brackets while I waited 2 hours for him to come back to me. I thought, right, let's try and get some brackets on here, and they were difficult. I think I might have included that in my last video. So what I'll do, and then I'll get welder out. So this is how it's looking. It's lovely. It's absolutely lovely. It were a bit tricky. Tricky bit is trying to get bike leveled up. My floor's got a little bit of a lean on it, so I was just trying to get it. I've just propped it up on this side to lift it up, because even though my axle stands are bang on, if you look at that left-hand pipe is still sat a little bit lower. It doesn't look that bad in real life, but it looks worse now. So what I'm going to do again is I'll double, triple check that, get them megaphones so they're both sat at the same level. Get that wheel in middle at frame there. Yeah, the one on the right's definitely kicking up a little bit more than the one on the left. When I do that, they look like they're kicking in and out a little bit. And then my next one is to get them even at the back there, so that they're both in the same place in relation to that shocker, which they nearly are. I'll tell you something, it's not that bad on camera, because the camera's got a grid on it that I can see, you can't, and that's helping me line it all up. Yeah, the one on the right's sticking out a little bit more than the one on the left, so I need to do that as well. But yeah, apart from that, once I get them megas in right place, I'll set the camera up and I'll just go around it, tack it all together, pull it off, set my camera up on bench and weld it all up, I think. So yeah, a little short video there. Let's get it done. Right guys, that were a bit difficult. Just difficult MIG welding them brackets on. Can't see now. It's always hard tacking things on. I'll give you a quick brief look round. It's tacked on though, so I'm going to take it off in a minute. I've just had camera set up there while I was tacking it on. I'll probably set camera back up and whip them all off, and then set camera up on bench and weld round them. But yeah, let's flip the camera. So first of all, tack pipes on. Tack pipes in place to get them. That gets the pipes fixed in place when I tack them on, so then they won't move around that much here at the back. So basically put 1, 2, 3, 4 tacks on there. Just to, these ones on top to start off with, that allowed me to fix them in place left and right, but still allowed me to move it up and down. And then I put one on each side now, which means that they won't move up and down anymore, and they won't move left and right. So that was the first job, get them 2 tacked on. Easy peasy doing these ones because I can see them, but then to get round that back side's a bit tricky, because you almost have to put your welder through this gap here, put TIG welder through there. There's other ways you can get to it, but then It's hard work. Like you put your hand in there. It's hard work getting your rod in from here. And same with that backside over there. You're almost doing it. I have to do it other way around. Do it this way because I'm right-handed. Not learned how to left-hand weld yet. 12 years later, still don't know how to left-hand weld. So yeah, that were a bit tricky. Then I've done the same on this. So I've tacked this on here and then tacked it right back as well. That stops it moving left and right and up and down, because the tacks are that far apart now that it won't move up and down. And then the other tricky bit, let's pull them stands out because they can be pulled out now. The other tricky bit was trying to get a weld out back of that bracket there. So at first weld, I went like this with MIG welder. Did it from bottom. Did it a bit blind as well because I couldn't really see it. So I just put a bit of weld on there, just hold that in place. And then I've done one from top here and it's just joined that bracket to the side with a little bit of weld sticking on the side there, but I can grind that off with a grinder, neaten it up afterwards. It's on back. The other one on the other side's messy because I couldn't see it at all. Brake rod were in way, so I've done the same thing. You can see a bit of splatter there, but that'll probably just chip off that. So I've got a weld there to pin that in place, but then that weld down back there, just couldn't see it. I've done it from back here, so I've gone from down there with me. You can actually see a big blob there. And what it were, my mask couldn't see through that rod, so I moved it over like that, I couldn't see it. Moved it down here, I couldn't see it, so I've pretty much done it blind. So there's a big old tack on back of that. But same again, once I take it off, I can see it. I can get grinder on it, dress it up, and then I'll braze around it. So that's tacked on. That's in place now. That's sat there nicely. Tricky bit was to leave. You can only just see it. It might want pulling away a little tiny bit. There's a tiny gap between that and that brake rod. So brake rod will just go past it without touching it. Which that's been one of the tricky parts. That probably does want just pulling out a little tiny bit. And then it wants... Whoa. So I might have to look at that. I just want to put a bit of a bend on bracket. Just a tiny bit of a bend on bracket there. Because when I pull that gap there, it touches down here on frame. There's a gap now, it's hard to tell. There's a gap down there on frame. So when I pull that gap off, then it pushes that in and it touches this brake rod. Ideally, he wants to spin that round, spin the brake arm round, run it across the top. That would be the normal way of running these on. You basically have an extent, it has a bit of more of a bend in it, and it runs it out to this side at shocker, and it just lifts it up above. So it's not in the way of that. But I might try and put a bit of a bend on that bracket just to pull it out a little tiny bit. And then just check out gaps down there. And then this is all tacked on, same as the other side. So that's going to be my little job now, is just to see if I can just eke that out while it's still on the tacks. Just create a tiny gap between that and the brake rod. And then I'll whip it all off, braze it all round, and it's finished. Let's try and get a thumb in there. Yeah, thumb. Right, top one. Right, I'll do that now. Right guys, missed the stage out there. I've brazed these up without filming it. Basically, braze around that. The other one's in the water cooling down. And I've then warmed that section up, bent it over with the blowtorch, my welding torch. I'm going to finish that little bit of braze off and then it's finished. There's something in it that's rattling. Don't know what that is, just a little bit of wire, it's just falling out. I had a bit of a problem. I couldn't get the bolts out. Let me show you the bolts. The bolts, I've had to trim them down so that they'll drop in there because it's really tight. There's that gap, it's hard to show you. But they'll only just flick in that hole. And my plan is, I thought about putting a dint in there to get rid of it. Or not to get rid of it, just so there's a bit of clearance so that bolt will flick in that hole. But what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to swap them for Allen heads. And then I think with Allen head, it'll be domed on the top. There might be a little bit more room, I can squeeze that in. I'm going to have a go at that before I have a go at putting a dint in there. I'll see if I can fit one in. But at the moment, it's like that. It's just dead tight to get a bolt in. It's just the way it's worked out, because he wanted them flicking up like that. Then there's not much, you can't see that hole there, and the gap's not big enough to drop an hole in. So yeah, one way of doing it is to warm that up and put a bit of a dint in there so I can drop the bolt in. But I'd rather not, so I'll try a different bolt in it first. So what I'm going to do, yeah, braze around that. Then I'll braze around pipes. And then we'll have a look at that. I'll dress them up as well, because when I've been brazing that on, some of the braze has run down a bit. So I just want to dress that up with grinder and then weld on a clasp bolt there at the bottom. to fasten it onto the pipes. Swap that one over, that's my old one. So I've got the same problem with this one, wherever my bolt is. Let's have a look. That one, I'll have to show you again. It just flicks in that. So I might get away with not putting a dent in it at this rate. Like I say, just get a different bolt so it don't, when you pull that one out, it touches the side. So to do with it just being a little bit better so it don't scratch the chrome every time you put it in and out. So I'll try it with an Allen head. But yeah, I'm just going to clean this bit of braze off that's run over edge there, clean that braze off, and then I get pipes out braze then. Lost the bolt there. Lost the bolt. Done, nice, all blended in. That one done. I'll leave the other one still cooling down. I'm going to do these. We just want them welds dressing down on it a little tiny bit, and then run a ring of braze round. 2-second job, it says. Right guys, this is it, all done. I've got some other bits to do this afternoon, so I'm just going to fire these out now. Get these fitted on the bike, show you them all fitted up. I did a little trial fit last night, and I think I might need a washer between the Mega and the plate just to pull it off. One of brake rods, the brake rod runs along there. It was just touching outside. It weren't when I tacked it all on, but obviously that bracket's creeped round like that, and it's just pulled this bit up against the brake rod. So that's what I'm going to do. what I'll do is I'll set camera up again next to the bike, and we'll get some pipes put on there. Like I say, it looked good, but it looked good when I put them on last night before I went home. So that's it, yeah, they've got the Mega's all buffed off on end there. All looking nice, baffle plate brazed in, bracket stamped on the back with racings. I've had to warm that up and put a little bend on it so it follows the back of the Mega there, as you can see. Brazed all the way around. Looking nice. And then before I finished that, I brazed that little clasp bolt on the end of there, so that's just a bit of tube brazed on and then slit through with a slitting disc. And then put in the bolt. So they're ready to be fitted, both of them. They're both identical. Good way of checking that is to put them down there on the side and the brackets line up, or the holes line up. I think one's a little bit higher than the other one, but that's to do with foot pegs and the way that one's leaning. It's actually not higher than the other one. It's that clasp bolt's slightly off rotation, so when you push them like that, they line up. And then the pipes are done. Pipes didn't need any cleaning off, and they've got a nice braze around the tops of them there. I've been asked a few times why braze them. And basically, if you TIG weld that, you TIG weld over it's just basically stuck on the top is the TIG weld. Whereas when you're brazing it, it's exactly the same as doing plumbing. And you put the braze on there, and as you're brazing it round, you warm it, and it sucks a bit in. And then you fill it up with braze, and then you warm the next bit, it sucks a bit in, you fill it up with braze. And what it's doing, you can't actually see it, because I've not gone crazy on it, but on inside of there where you can see that lip, sometimes you can see a bit of gold all the way around that, where it's sucked the braze all the way through onto outside. So what it's done then, it's acted like a glue. There'll be a section there, inside there, that's got braze on it. So that bit's glued on the inside, as well as it having the braze on the outside. The braze is actually about that wide on inside. And that's why it's better, because you get a bigger contact area, better than welding. Definitely, but it's always better than welding. That'll be the same with these brackets. So where I braze that, the actual braze will be underneath it, all the way around on edge of that. It'll be brazed underneath. So like I say, it's like glue that's stuck on underneath it, which just gives, you've got that nice big fillet on the outside, but it's also sucked some of it on underneath the bracket, which gives you a better weld. Same with that one. So when I braze these on, I braze them on that way, it would have sucked a bit down inside. So when this outside skin got hot, it would have forced some of that braze down the inside. So that braze will be stuck on the inside of that metal about that far down. Which you can see, if you ever cut them open, you can see the braze on inside of it. So you get, just a nice big contact area of it. Which is like using arrow dart or something like that. So yeah, let's get started. I'll pink camera up here. We'll start whipping these pipes out. In fact, I can maybe do one here now with my hand. Which pipe's the right hand pipe? Get that one on there. Get that collar on. Slide that on there like that. Start doing it with one hand, like that. I'll take that over there. It's got a little copper ring in there, a little copper cush ring. Put that in like that. Push that in so it's all the way on that copper ring. These are always tricky, like you can sometimes cross thread these, but these nuts are really nice because they're brand new. And it's got a really nice thread inside the head. So they go straight in. No problems about them cross threading. It's when you get a really old one and the nuts are really knackered. And then to tighten it up, you just keep doing that. You pull that out, and then when you push it back in, hold the nut in the same place, and it'll just keep tightening itself up. So that's nearly tight. So what I'm going to do now is just got a little bit of adjustment in it. Go and get the megaphone, put the megaphone on, and then it's a case of tightening it all up in the right way. So yeah, might stick the other one on it. Let's have a look at the next one. I was going to say I'll prop it up there, but you won't be able to see it on the other side of the bike. There's another nut on. So we'll wang this round here. Push the pipe into head. Get it all nice and lined up. Yeah, if I had two hands there, I have a way of doing that. You just keep, like I say, just keep pulling pipe out like that, hold on to the nut, and then when you push it back in, it turns it a little bit more like that, and you can proper tighten it up like that. Just keep shimming pipe in, out, in, out, in, out like that, and it'll tighten it up. So that's stiff, that now. So yeah, go and get the Megaphones for both sides, fit them on, and then tighten it up at back. Like I was saying before, I need a washer between here and the Megaphone bracket, just because the Megaphone's scraping on here, or that's scraping on Megaphone. So do that. It'll also help because it'll help pull pipe off here a little tiny bit with a washer, because that can push in to touch it. And then it'll be finished. It's finished, done. And what you do then, crank that, really tighten that one up so they're in place. And then probably crank that head bolt up then, so that's fastened in place. And then finally fasten up the pinch bolt in the middle. So that's tight, and then clamp it. Don't do the front to the back or the back to the front. Do the back, then the front, and then the middle. Right guys, so I've got Megaphone there. Got two washers because I want it to be spaced off evenly on either side. So even though I don't need a washer on this side, I'm going to put a washer behind it just so it matches when it matches the one on the other side. I've actually just pulled out the wrong Mega. I will do that one next. We'll put that one on the floor there. We'll go and get the right Mega. That was left hand one. So I don't block view. Let's get that on there. I also have one little problem. Is like I said before, the angle of that bracket there, you can't actually get a bolt down it, a big X bolt head. So I've swapped them out for these little domed head ones, little domed head Allen heads, and they're fitting nicely. But the ones I've got are like a couple of threads too short. And then when I put this washer in, now they're going to be like 3 threads too short. I could either use like a shallow nut, or what I'm going to do is advise the customer to get another set of these, another 2 of these. Get them the longer ones, 40mm long ones or whatever, and then chop them down to the right size, I think. They'll work for now because I can just get enough on it, I think, to hold it in place. But yeah, ideally wants to get a different nut for that, a different bolt, should say. Right, so that's that in there. Put that washer down here. And this next bit's tricky. It's hard to get your hand up the back of there. To get your hand up back of there. They weren't really designed. Well, they do actually. I was going to say they weren't really designed for having the silencers on, but they do have the silencers on. But they also, that's where your rear peg goes, your passenger peg, pillion peg. See, there's not much. You can only do like 1/4 of a turn with spanner as well. It's annoying because they've got like a cutout in it, and when you turn it round to 90 or 1/8 to 90, it just jumps the spanner off. But yeah, that's on tight. That's on tight. So now we just adjust that there, like that. That'll still bend backwards and forwards, that pipe. If you have a look here, you have a look at pipe. When I wangle that, moves at the front. So I just want to get that set just about right, and then proper crank it at the front on that nut. So you get your big Norton spanner out. Get big Norton spanner out, and then just give this a couple of turns round. I don't know if you can see that there. Like that. Check my gaps. That's looking, it's a lot tighter that now. One more turn. That's it, rock solid. Basically, you advise the customer that when he takes it out for a run, this alley barrel here will get hot, this alley head will get hot, it'll expand. What you do when you take it for a run, come back, do that again, just to nip it just another touch, and it'll hold it in tight. And then normally if you bring it to me and I have to take them back off, the engine will be freezing cold, I won't be able to get them back off. The way to get them off then is to run it hot again and then take them off while it's still warm. So that's a good way of holding them in. But you can also get little locking tabs that'll hold that in place, which fit behind the back of the nut, and it holds these fins here to the fins on the engine. Actually, it wants some of them really. I think the commando locking tabs. So we'll get this next megaphone out now. We'll go right to the other side. Set that up there, and I'll do the same thing. I'll drop my head over the top of the bike. We'll get that one on with another washer. And waggle it in. Waggle it in and pray that the washer's going to work, I think, because if it don't work, I have to take all the other side off and try and find some thicker washers. Right, washer in. Washer in, there's a gap there, so we're looking good. Move myself round here. Get my hand out back of there again. This one's even worse because you have that's in the way, this is in the way. It's just a little bit more fiddler on this side. Yeah, that's done lovely. There's a nice gap there now. What I can do, if that works, before I give the bike back to the customer, one thing I need to do is check the gaps underneath here, because they rotate and it'll wear a line on there. So I need to go and check that on the side. It's just push down on them before I tighten up that clasp bolt. Just push down on them a little tiny bit. What it'll do, it'll pull pipe and the megaphone apart a little tiny bit, and then clamp that up, and that should hold it in place. There's a good gap. If I can get it to tighten up there, it'll be all right. There's just like an air's gap through there. I can get a fag paper through. That's still tricky, that. That's what happens. It's when I push it down on it. So that's there is a gap there. It's fractional again. Oh. But then I put it up onto that and it's fractional there. So yeah, possibly a thicker washer, which is highly annoying. That pull it in. I would actually do it if I can tighten pipe up at front, push it in and tighten it up a little tiny bit. And I'll have a gap. Marginal again. Let me put my camera on. Let's get this back on normal view. So we're looking there. You see there, there's no light shining through it. If I push in on the pipe at the front, see that bit of daylight appears there. Let go of it, it comes back. Yeah, annoying. So it's only just touching that now, it's only just touching, because if I do that, like I can make a gap appear, and I'm not moving it that much. Like I say, I've got a little tiny washer behind the back there, so I might try and find a thicker washer and just plonk that in. Like I say, if I take them off, I can actually braze the washer to the back of that plate, so we don't have to fiddle dropping the washer in every time he takes them on and off. But that's the margins we're talking about again. It was the same on that B50, weren't it? I'm talking about, can I see daylight or can I not see daylight? At the moment there, I can't see daylight. But if I do that, you can see daylight. And it barely moved. I want it to stay there. But the problem is, if I just do that by pushing that, what I was doing then, I was just grabbing all that pipe there and just pushing on it a little tiny bit like that. And that created the gap at the back, you can see it moving. But if I do that by pushing it in and tightening it up there on the front, what it'll do, it'll end up rattling itself back to where it is now. It'll rattle itself loose. So really, I need to get that gap there when it's sat in its natural state. So yeah, maybe a thicker washer, which is annoying because, like I say, I'm going to have to take the other side off now to put a same size washer in. Not necessarily have to do that, but I'm just thinking now that that peg there looks bent in, that little tab, and on this side it don't look bent in, so that could be my problem. I've got less than a finger's worth of gap there, and it's even smaller on this side. So yeah, my problem is that that's been bent in. So I just want to put a washer on this side, leave it off on the other side, I think. Looking at that now I've looked at that, that's what's happened to that. That could have been dropped on silencer, could have been leant up against a wall or anything. That's been bent in definitely, which you can tell by that gap there, because it's that gap there between that point and the swing arm is a lot less than that gap. So yeah, it's just a case of that now, just going around checking it, making sure it's all lined up. But the run of the pipes is lovely. Like from here, it looks like there's a massive gap there, but when you go down and round to the side, look, it all lines up with rails, which is exactly what I was aiming for. So sit down here nice and level. That front pipe there is just following that round. It follows bottom bend round, because it follows that bottom bend that well that you can't even see bottom bend. And you won't be able to see that, you can just see a little bit of blue there. But that's because of the fisheye on lens. Right guys, it's all finished, done. I'm sat down here in my little crouch position. Tube bender on one side, rollers on the other side. Just checking it out. I've put it in its photograph place where I take all my photographs in front of that Racing's blackboard. It's looking nice, looking sweet. Yeah, nothing wrong with it at all, so I'll flick it around and give it. There it is. Looks lovely. It looks absolutely lovely. So if point out a few things, so like I've been saying right from the start, that bit there, that bend follows that frame really, really nice. The original pipes come out dead straight. So they come out, drop down straight, and then go back square, so they're like big squares on front. And they look racy because they've just got that little bit of kickback on there, which gives them a racy look. Then that almost follows the bottom rail, but it's not. It's sat up ever so slightly, parallel with floor. If you look, both tyres sat on floor. That pipe parallel with floor. Well, if you took that pipe away, the frame is actually sat like that, if you get me. It's angled down at the back, so I've just, instead of following rail, I've followed the floor. And then, as the customer requested, get them kicked up as far as possible and get them as short as possible. Well, that's as far as they'll go in because that peg's in the way. But they've worked out really well because the ends of them are in line with that shocker, which I always try and do that. It's a nice cut-off point. If you could just get them so that they're sat at 90 to shocker like that, get them to finish smack bang in shocker is the perfect place for me. It keeps it all nice and tidy, keeps the lines right. It's nice. It's a really nice set of pipes. I've actually, hold on. I've actually wrote down dimensions for these, so it might be something else I can do in the future and sell them as an off-the-shelf set of pipes, because I've actually got one of these frames, engines, wheels upstairs, and then my plan is one day to drop it down and then use it as a jig so I can mock up pipes like this, because I've got Grandad sweatbacks hanging above my head, which are them, they're all them hanging above my head. I can actually get them jigged up on bike then and start selling them as well. So yeah, these might be a set that I add on. I already make a set for Tritons that follow the similar line, and we just call them standard Triton pipes, where these would be Racing's standard Dommy pipes. They won't be standard as in what you can get from Armours, because they are standard pipes, original looking pipes. These will be Caferacer pipes, won't they? So yeah, as we go in, it looks really nice. I can show you that detail on bottom there. You can just see that's the bottom rail there, just showing there, but not showing here. So I've dropped it down enough that it covers the bend, but then just gradually creeped it up, just so it sits perfectly with floor. and then that back end's nice. And the other good bit is they're really nice and tight in. So you've got nothing sticking out, no massive gap here at the front. The gap there at the front is really, really tight. Right, where were we? Just got a set of pipes delivered then. They are Royal Enfield Continental. Are they Continentals then? Them 650 twins, set of them pipes in there that are just to look at. Someone's asked me to make a set, so they sent me a set up just so I can weigh them up before making a custom set. So yeah, as I was saying, the gaps on this are really nice. They're really, really, they're tight as down there. Like that. Same on a normal set, just for comparison, on a normal set, they'd come out, that'd be at 90 to the floor, where I've tucked it in, as far in as it'll get to the bottom. And there's just a bit of daylight sticking through there, which is hard to see. If you... I can't even see it on here. Might be able to see it on the other side. There, down back at chain. See that? That's pipe, chain, frame. So that little bit of light you're seeing coming through the bottom there, that's how much gap we've got. It's a few mil. 2 mil, 3 mil, something like that. You might be able to see it same. More tricky. Nah, it won't focus in, there's too much stuff in the way. It's down back of there though. Oh, there you go. That bit of light you're seeing coming through the bottom next to that blue rail. That's how much gap we're talking again. Same, about 3 mil. And that runs all the way along the pipe. So it's just spaced off nicely front frame. You can see it. It's hard to show you gaps. There should be one down outside of there, which same gap, but it's not focusing in on it, or I'm not getting the right angle to show you light coming through. All the nice gaps. So this gap's nice here, and there's a never slight gap underneath there. You just see a bit of blue coming through that between the Mega and the gear changer. There's just a touch of blue showing through. I say you'll be able to slide a piece of paper underneath there, but you won't be able to get a piece of metal underneath there. So I think my battery's running a bit low. So we'll just do one last look. That's how she looks side on. Front back. Nice and tucked in, just with Megas just flicking out at last minutes. Can't even see pipes on that, can you? Come right over it, can't even see pipes. Until you get right up to the front there. Same on that side, looking nice, all nice and tight in. Same little gap underneath the brake pedal there, tidy. Oh, one last thing, I put a washer in here. It's a little bit thicker down back of there. You might not be able to see that again. Everything's in where there's a thicker washer there. And now, I've got, you might not be able to see that either. Between there and there's a little tiny gap there, isn't there? So when you press brake rod down now, it's not touching that. And that's the stuff you want. That's what custom parts mean. Custom parts mean that they're made to fit that bike, and it means that every single gap on there is minute. You get a set off the shelf and your gaps are like that. Because they've got to be, because they make them so they'll fit every bike. And if you've not got that brake rod in that place, or you've not got your pegs in that place, then they've got to make sure that they go around all that kind of stuff, whatever you might be doing. A lot of the times you won't be able to fit pedals like that on a normal set of pipes. They just won't work. So yeah, these custom set here, that's what's made the difference. Is I've worked out right from the start how much gap we're going to need. And I had it all, just whipped it all back off then, and I put it all back on, check the gaps. Yeah, took it off, put it on, check the gaps, took it off, put it back on. Readjusted the gaps, made sure the gaps are all good, tightened it all up. Now I can assure the customer when he takes that off, he puts it back on. The gaps won't be good the first time he puts it on properly, but because I've done it twice now, I can assure him that if he plays about with it for a little bit, he can get them gaps spot on. So yeah, that's it, looking nice. That'll be like one of the best set of dummy pipes you've seen probably. Not as nice as me race set, because my race set, what I do with race set is I just flick that in. But it adds like another 70 quid onto the job. Like, it'd be 150 quid just to flick them in at the tops, because I have to get that pipe, fill it up with sand, and then twist it in and then back out again, make them into swan necks on front, and it neatens it up a lot, but it adds a lot of expense to the job. Whereas that's exactly the same looking system as I did on Brian's Dominator Caferacer, but it's just missing out that little tiny bit, which is, if you've got a lot of money in your pocket, you can pay for that little tiny bit, but this looks exactly the same. That's a replica of his, but his is a full work system. This is like a Caferacer system, so you don't want to go to that full extent. So yeah, that's it, that's me. I'm going to take some photographs and I'll get them up on me Instagram, Facebook. Most people say like, share, subscribe, but not bothered about all that. You'd have a big box comes across the screen here now, like, share, subscribe, yeah. Do what you want with it, mate. Just happy that you're watching, so yeah, enjoy.